Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. So, I'm a child of the 90s, grew up listening to 90s music, and I always thought, it kind of sucks that I grew up in the 90s when, the 60s and 70s had so many great albums. I wish I had grown up in one of those decades instead. But, outside of the major 90s records, you don't hear a lot about 90s music now, I don't think. You hear a lot about Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and stuff like that, but a lot of the more underground stuff you don't hear as much about. So I just kind of picked out 20 records from my collection from the 90s that are underrated, that you don't hear as much about. Some of these you guys might have heard of, some of them maybe not, but these are just what I have on vinyl. The 90s notoriously was bad for vinyl. There weren't a lot of that stuff going around, but I've collected over the years, a lot of the 90s records that I like. I'm still missing some, obviously. But before we get started, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me a comment. I love to stay in contact with you guys. Follow us over on Instagram at Noble Records, where we have a brick and mortar record store. We buy record collections. We recommend records, we do in-store exclusives, all that stuff. So check it out. But the first one that comes to mind, this is a record this is probably one of the more popular ones in the stack. A lot of people probably heard of this, but it is, I think, a great album that you don't hear many people talk about now. But in the 90s, this was kind of a huge record. This is Jackal. Really killer, Southern rock, grunge, I don't know what you'd even call it, but it's just good old rock and roll. Fantastic record. I grew up listening to this. A bunch of my friends, dads either had it on like cassette or CD or whatever, and so that's why I heard it. My friend's dad had a, I don't know if it was a cassette or CD, but it was playing in the car, and I was like, what is this? It's insane, because there's a chainsaw solo in one of the songs. And so when I was in high school, Jackal ended up coming through Charlotte and playing in at Amos's South End, and I got to see him. And they did the chainsaw solo, and he sawed up a stool and all this stuff. But if you like rock and roll music at any capacity and you've never heard this record, it is awesome. I freaking love this record. That's one. I had to track that down early on. Originally, it was only ever released in Germany, I think, but on vinyl. But they've reissued it since then. Another one is Bardo Pond. This is a great record. This is called Lapsed. This is a great record. It's like psychedelic grunge. It's really cool. It almost has a little bit of a shoegazy sound to it as well, but kind of spacey, out there, ethereal, psychedelic grunge type stuff. Hard to find, but this is a incredible record. Love it. Another one kind of in that same realm, I think, is Balterspace, Vortura. This is a very cool record. Came out in 1994. Another one you do not hear a whole lot about. This is one a lot of people I feel like have heard of the Breeders, but this record, Pod, is just a beautiful record. Really killer. Great. It's in that 90s rock realm. The 90s rock has a very specific sound. There's some grunge influence, some like new wave influence to it, but really great record, The Breeders' Pod. Next one is, the band's name is Down. The record's called NOLA. This is an incredible, super heavy hard rock record from 1995. Lead vocals by Phil Anselmo from Pantera. But this is a killer record. Very hard to find on vinyl. I actually found this. There was a house full of records that I was digging through, and I only had one day. Wasn't going to be able to come back. And all the records were $3. And I found this one, which, if you know, this is not a $3 record. It's one of my best cheapy finds. But 1995, super heavy. If you like Pantera and stuff like that, this is in that same realm, obviously. Very like if I'm ever working out, going on a run, this is a great soundtrack for that. It's high energy hard rock. Love it. Next one is PJ Harvey, Dry. This is PJ Harvey's first full-length LP. I think she came out with some singles a little bit before this, but this is 1992. Excellent record. Female driven indie rock. It definitely has a little bit of a grungy sound to it. She notoriously dated Nick Cave, and there's a little bit of that sound in there too. I feel like they kind of swam in the same circle, but really fantastic record. 1992, PJ Harvey. Another one from 92 is Helmet. Meantime, this is an excellent record. Hardcore, kind of quintessential hardcore record. Not a lot of hardcore records were mainstream. This is one that was a little bit more mainstreamed. I almost didn't put this one on the list, but I kind of cross-referenced, you know, some things I don't really think are obscure or whatever, but I looked at like the top records that were underrated from the 90s, and this was on like almost all the list. And it is a fantastic record. I love this. It's a regular listen for me. Another one, this one, man, Daniel Johnston, 1990. This one is out there. Daniel Johnston is near and dear to my heart. I would say this is one of those things you have to really try to like. A lot of Daniel Johnston songs, if you're not familiar with him, a lot of them have been covered by other people because his recordings are really lo-fi and really weird. And so, like, if you just want to hear like some hits and stuff, you're not gonna like this record. But if you are a little bit adventurous and you want to hear something that's actually really good, Daniel Johnston is great. This is a long story. So there's a documentary called The Devil and Daniel Johnston. And if you can find that documentary, it is so worth your time to watch. He is the most interesting story, very interesting dude, and in my opinion, one of the best songwriters ever. His recordings, like I said, are not for everybody. They're an acquired taste, but the songwriting is really, really good. And so he just had this like war inside him. He had some, you know, some issues. Definitely had some issues. And so he had this kind of spiritual war in his brain all the time. He always felt like the devil was out to get him. And so this album talks a lot about that. Like he writes a lot of songs about that. It's very, very interesting. But I would say if you listen to this album and you think it's too weird for you, I would really, really recommend watching that documentary, The Devil and Daniel Johnston, and then listen to it. It is worth your time. If you have the time and you're a little adventurous, it's a beautiful story, and the music really adds to that. So I would recommend that. This is one I've recommended over the years several times. This is a grunge album that you don't ever hear anybody talk about. This is Paul Dragline. This is an original press on red vinyl. But this is an unbelievable grunge record that I can't believe is not like in the top of, you know, that doesn't run in the ranks of the rest of them. It does have like almost like a little bit more of a southern rock type feel to it. There's a pedal steel solo on Jesse. Jesse's the main track on here, the hit, which if there was a hit. But it is, man, it's unbelievable. They have a follow-up record to this one as well that's really good, but this record is like front to back incredible, not a miss, fantastic record. So if you like grunge and you've never heard Paul Dragline, it is one of my absolute favorites and deserves more attention. All right, next one is Ride Nowhere. This is a fantastic shoegaze record from 1990. This is an original press. You know, in the shoegaze world, you might know, you know, My Bloody Valentine's is the one that gets like most attention, but Ride, excellent band, really great stuff. This is a fantastic record as well. This is a great one called, the band's called Toad the Wet Sprocket. The record's called Pale. This is an original pressing. It's autographed by the band. Really great, I guess you'd call it indie rock. A lot of this stuff, I guess, is classified as indie rock. But it almost has, you know, a lot of songs are more ballady. Like if you like, and I hate to compare it to, like if you like the band Lighthouse, this is like an earlier version of that. It's like type of really good songwriting. Great, I mean, great songs. But this is a fantastic record. I love this one so much. So, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Pale, fantastic one from the 90s that you don't ever hear anything about. This is one I almost didn't put on the list, but I feel like I didn't know about this in the 90s, you know, and as I got older, you know, past 10 years, I've become aware and really enjoyed this. Monster Magnet's a fantastic record. This is a record called Super Judge. It is amazing, super heavy space rock. It is, I guess it's like space metal. It's crazy. Really good. Like I said, really heavy. If you like Hawkwind, imagine like Hawkwind a lot harder. But it's psychedelic. It's out there. Fantastic stuff. I absolutely love this record. Monster Magnet, Super Judge. The next one, and I might not have even really thought to put this on the list, but I was having a conversation with somebody at the shop yesterday. A guy named Marshall, really nice dude. And we're talking about how great this record is and that no one ever talks about. This is Television's third record. It's just self-titled. Television is a white label promo because this was only ever released on vinyl as a promo. So it was mainly on cassette and CD. But this is in the same, I mean, if you like Television, I feel like you really like this record. It's different. It definitely has a more of that 90s sound to it, but it is just a tremendous, tremendous record. I listened to it again this morning when I was kind of putting everything together, and I was like, man, it's a fantastic record. If you don't know about that, it's great. This one is Flat Duo Jets, Go Go Harlem Baby. This is a band from North Carolina. Well, some of the members are from North Carolina. I think some of them are from Georgia, but really good, like garage rockabilly type stuff. Fantastic. I feel like this is not too obscure, but it's a really great one. Flat Duo Jets, great band. The next one is the John Spencer Blues Explosion. This one is like it's got that really cool neo garage rock stuff, like the White Stripes before the White Stripes. Really good. You probably would recognize some of these songs. The song Bell Bottoms, I've seen it and I've heard it in movies. Some of the tracks on here are more identifiable, I think, that have been used in things, but it is a really, really good, high energy, great rock record. The next one is, I had to put it in here, guys. I had to. This is Coverdale Page. Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin's my favorite band. I have everything ever of all of their stuff. But David Coverdale from Whitesnake does the vocals. Jimmy Page does guitar. And, you know, a lot of times when people do stuff after their main career, you know, like people go out and do solo things or you know, it's not that good. There's not that much heart in it or whatever. This is not that case. This is a fantastic record. It is killer start to finish. I love it. If you like Led Zeppelin and you've never listened to Coverdale Page, I think this came out in 94, 93. This came out in 93, and it is a tremendous record. I believe that they've reissued it recently. So, yeah, this one is called, it's a band called L7, Hungry for Stink. You know, if you're not a record collector, this is a first pressing on Blue Vinyl. If you're not a record collector, you know, I think some people watch these videos just for the music recommendations, which is great. But, you know, every record is worth a different amount, depending on its desirability and how limited it is and all that stuff. So, like, the first pressing Nirvana records are worth a ton of money, you know, sometimes thousands. And so, but that isn't always indicative of how good the record is necessarily. And this is a record that's not worth a whole lot. I mean, it's probably worth like maybe $40, you know. But it is a killer, like female-driven grunge record. It is just incredible. I love L7. It's one of those bands that you don't really hear about in the grunge stratosphere, but it is great stuff. So this is L7, Hungry for Stink, kind of female-driven grunge stuff. I could not find this record anywhere. I had it miscategorized. So as I was looking for it, I looked for a replacement. This is the replacement that I found for it, but then I ended up finding it. So I think there's like 21 records on this list. This is Veruca Salt's American Thighs. In the same realm, this is 1994 female grunge type stuff. It is really heavy, really cool, great, very well written songs. It is in that same realm. It is fantastic. Veruca Salt, American Thighs. So you guys have all probably heard of Mazzy Star To Tonight That I May See. This is an incredible 90s record. Absolutely love this record. But that's not the one we're talking about. We're talking about the Mazzy Star debut. And that is this one here. It is so good. It is a little bit more, I guess, shoegazy. It's a little bit more raw, But man, that Mazzy Star debut, She Hangs Brightly is what it's called, and it is super good. And it's a first U.S. press with the hype sticker for the record nerds out there. The only record I don't have in this stack is there's an album called Love Battery Dayglow, which I don't have it. They recently reissued it, and I meant to grab the reissue, but I haven't yet. But it's a tremendous record. I really would like to find the original. This is like an EP of Love Battery, but that's a fantastic record. I love Love Battery. It's a band you don't hear about, but the album Dayglow is top notch, incredible stuff. This next one is the Jesus Lizard, Goat. This is it came from the Chris Whitson Collection. If you don't know about that video, it's a video I did of this incredible record collection I found. This family had sold me their son's collection. Their son had died in 1992, and he had a ton of really great grunge and punk and metal stuff from like the late 80s, early 90s. And I'll link that in the description of this video if you haven't seen that video. It is one of my favorite videos that we've ever done. But this came from that collection. And I had heard of this before, but never really gave it much attention. But when when this record was in there, I listened to it probably more than any other record that was in that collection. But it is just an incredible, incredible record. I guess it's on Touch and Go Records. It's kind of somewhere between, I don't know. I hate doing these. I'm not good at describing records, I feel like, but somewhere between grunge and hardcore. But it's that alt rock. It's great. You have to listen to it. It's the bass is incredible. The songwriting is great. It is just great songs, top to bottom. There's another one. If I'm on a run or working out, I listen to this record all the time. It is fantastic. The Jesus Lizard, Goat. It's a killer one. And last one, which you guys might expect me to say this, I'm an advocate for records that are cool to not like, okay? There's a lot of records that are really good that have for some reason become cool to not like, but they're still really good. Limp Bizkit, $3 bill, y'all. This is a great record. This is a bootleg. The original pressings of this are really rare, and I'm not finding one. But, you know, we all know Significant Other is the one with break stuff on it. That's the follow-up to this. So that came out in, like, 2000, I think. But this came out in 97. This is their debut. And even if you don't really like the break stuff, you know, all that, this is a really good album, and it's overlooked and, in my opinion, underrated. It's their first record. It's really raw. It's you know, a little bit more true to that rap metal genre. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to have some fun with it. Be sure to comment any records that you think are 90s gems that are underrated. Would love to hear from you guys. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.